Everything costs money. It's a nightmare.
Nothing's for free.
No, you probably know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sometimes surprised, I guess, by things that cost that, not by things that I'm not surprised that things cost money, but I'm surprised at how often I have to spend money. I'm surprised at how so often things come up that need, and they all need money. Well, it just happens, like things you wouldn't even, that wouldn't necessarily be a big deal at your house. Like you forget to leave the fridge. You forget to shut the fridge. It's like open, like just a crack.
Yeah.
But this happens on Sunday and you don't come back to look at the fridge until Tuesday. And like, you're like, oh man, that tiny error that's like $600.
Yeah. And like when you're at the top of the food chain, it's like there's nobody like, oh yeah, somebody else is going to take care of
boss,
it. It's like,
we
no,
gotta get this fixed.
You are the boss.
Right.
You're the boss, Bobby.
It's still hard to hear that sometimes.
Well, that's something that I do want to get into.
Okay.
Once we get this thing rolling.
All right.
And all that stuff.
Cool.
And we're already rolling, so I'll tell you what, going to do my intro. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people who listened to the conversation, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Cheers, Bobby.
Cheers, my friend.
Appreciate you being here today.
Glad to be here.
For anyone out there in the internet land that does not know, this beautiful angel that's sitting to my left here, his name is Bobby, and you are what should we say? The owner, the head cook, the everything.
I'm
the
those
pear
things.
to the pickle.
Yeah.
What do you call yourself?
Operator.
The operator.
The operator.
The operator.
The
operator of one of my favorite places on the fucking planet.
That's
the pear
real
and the
sweet.
pickle. Make some noise.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Say hello to the internet, Bobby.
Thank you.
I know that a lot of the time when I'm here, I have entertainers and performers, artists, people that typically talk a lot. And I'm not saying you're not an entertaining person to be around. I rather enjoy you. But this may be a little bit outside of your element today, the podcast thing.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate you taking the time to be down here today on a Sunday, which is typically, if you've ever been to the Pear and the Pickle, it's like the busiest fucking day of the week for you guys. So you're here after
crazy.
working your ass off all day, and I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here, and you're welcome. You're in there all the time.
Yeah, I was in there today.
Yeah,
Every day they're open.
I'm happy to be here for you because you're there for me literally every day.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's true.
So going into it, you are the operator,
the
head honcho of sorts of the Pear and the Pickle. And we were talking about responsibilities and things falling on your shoulders and all that stuff. Just jumping right into it. What is it like being a business owner? And is this something that you saw yourself being 10 years ago?
Well, no, I didn't see myself as a business. I didn't actually see myself as a business owner.
Yeah.
When people asked me what I wanted to do 10 years ago, I would tell them, oh, sure. Maybe I'll have a restaurant or a coffee shop or a place to call my own, eventually someday. But that's what it was. It was eventually and someday. And like 10 years ago, I would have never thought that this would be a part of my life.
Sure.
So I'm very fortunate.
So what was if there is just one thing that was like the big turning factor, was it just like a series of circumstances that led to it?
It was a series of circumstances. We had a friend who asked if we were interested in doing something in Troy Hill, and he lived in the neighborhood, and he actually owns. We're renting from him, and he owns the building. And then this was almost 6 years ago when we started maybe talking about opening the Pear and the Pickle, and we're gonna have our 4-year anniversary this coming April. So it was a while. Like the Pear and the Pickle's kind of been in the works for a while, and that would be the thing. My friend, a friend of ours, he owns the building, asked if we'd be interested in doing something. And that was sort of one roadblock in owning your own sort of cafe or restaurant was how can you afford to put a place together like that? And he was very nice and gave us a very, very, very nice deal on rent and everything. And so that's kind of the main thing that did it. It was a fortunate. It's fortunate to know him. So
you were already living in Troy Hill at that point, or were you living somewhere else in the city? So you were already in the neighborhood.
We were in the neighborhood. Because our friend introduced us to the neighborhood. Coming up to his house for dinner parties and stuff, or just to hang out, and we just loved the neighborhood. And we met a few people at his house, and one of those people gave my wife Alexis a call one day and said, "Hey, there's this guy working on a house on the street. You should come and take a look at it." And she shot up and took a look, and the guy was renovating it to rent it. And she asked if he would be interested in selling it. And
there you go.
There it is.
Yeah.
We got really lucky because it's hard. I feel like it's kind of hard to buy a house in our neighborhood. They come up and then they're like gone immediately. And I don't know if that has something to do with like,
I think it just depends on how hard you're looking too.
Yeah, that too.
That's probably anything. If you have your nose in the shit, if you will, and you're just like, I'm looking for a fucking house, and you probably know about every single house that's for sale. But if you're very casual about it, like maybe you weren't necessarily looking to buy a house at the time, in the same way that you weren't necessarily expecting to open up a cafe. It's
true.
Opportunities get thrown in your lap.
Yeah, because we weren't looking to buy a house that time, but it was a great opportunity again, and we're really lucky.
Yeah,
I can't say it enough. I'm going to say it a lot because I want people to know how lucky I feel to have this.
Hell yeah. So 4 years, and it's funny because this is pretty much going to be my 4-year anniversary in Troy Hill coming up as well, because the place opened up not too long, either before or after I had moved into the neighborhood. So it's been interesting, like feeling like the place has grown as I feel like I've gotten more comfortable in the neighborhood, and a lot of people that I know that live in Troy Hill I've met at Pear and the Pickle, and I see them in there all the time. And that's been it's fun. It's like I feel like it's a part of my house that is 3 blocks down the street.
That's what we wanted. When we finally decided to do a thing and we started talking about what our philosophy would be, and the term third place kept coming up. There should be a third place. You have your work, your house, and where's like a third place. And so we wanted to kind of be a third place for some people in the neighborhood to do exactly that, to meet up with friends, just to, a place to come, you'll see someone, say hi, hang out, read the newspaper, look at your phone, just chill out for a couple hours.
Hell yeah.
I think we succeeded in that a little bit.
Chilling out for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Let's get into Bobby not behind the grill.
All right.
Bobby not at the Pear or the Pickle. What does Bobby do to chill out for a couple hours? Do you even get an opportunity anymore now?
I don't chill much, man.
You're a family man these days.
I'm a bona fide family man. 2 3-year-olds at home, twin boys, and it's tough. They take up most of my time, and take up. But that's I
was gonna say. I know that you don't. I know it's whenever you start talking about things like that, it's really hard to use the right vocabulary.
Yeah.
But I know that you're very genuinely happy about your entire family situation.
I'm super.
But definitely, like, how do you balance that? Just because like you got work and family, and there's obviously ways to enjoy your work and the things that you've built up, and obviously enjoy the family. But I'm sure they could both be stressful as all hell at the same time.
I mean, what isn't?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, everything probably in your life has the potential to be stressful at some point, but. There's good stress and there's bad stress, I think. And so, 2 3-year-olds would cause any normal, rational person a considerable amount of stress on a daily basis. So, of course, I get that, But as the parent, it feels different, I feel fucking guilty for getting stressed out,
Yeah.
Because I look back at the moment when I was stressed out with my kids, and I was like, oh, man, fucking 3 years old. They're just 3 years old.
Yeah.
They don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah,
so.
but you're only human.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
so that's kind of how
the key is realizing it later. Better late than never, I suppose.
Right. I'm always a little bit late to the party when it comes to when it comes to shutting my mouth or realizations that should have happened. I'm very late to that. It's unfortunate.
But let's say you do get a moment to relax and chill out.
Yeah.
Like, what is the Bobby thing to do?
Well, I've been playing I have a Nintendo Switch. I got myself a Nintendo Switch, and I love Nintendo products. I think I have since I got my first Nintendo. So I play a little Nintendo Switch, some Super Smash Brothers.
Okay, that seems like a good way to get that.
Yeah, some Zelda.
That out, yeah.
A little Mario Kart.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can do that for about. Oh, Stardew Valley. I like that too.
Okay, I don't know that one.
It's like, you get a little farm and you tend to your farm. It's very zen,
Oh, okay.
You meet people, you talk to them, you form relationships. It's silly. It's
all of those. All of those
it.
do seem like very fantastical elements of just your day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Like that seems like kind of like an amplified version of your of being at the cafe or tending to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And Smash Brothers might be an amplified version of like an ornery customer ordeal.
Totally. You're right. It is. It's like there's a duality in everything, I guess. It's a mirror image. Super Smash Brothers and customers. I do not like to beat up the customers.
Yeah, no.
That should be said.
No.
Most of them anyway.
It's a very kind place.
Yeah, it's very chill, right?
In most situations, there are just some people that we'll just say, for lack of a better word, don't get it.
Yeah, it's true. Some people don't get it. They just don't get it.
I remember the first time I came into the Pear and the Pickle and we had an interaction with each other. It was just very much like I got my sandwich, very whatever, like cool. This guy's whatever, like, sat down and you were like, you complimented me on my 6-point brewing sticker on the laptop.
Yeah.
And I was like, you were like asking me like why I had it or something like that. I was like, oh no, I just like that place and I go to New York and stuff like that. And I think that like you had either told me that you spent time in New York or something, but at that point realizing that like you were from that area at the time, because I don't think you're not from New York, but you spent some time in New York.
I spent a good amount of time there.
Yeah, like after as soon as I knew that, like your whole aura made sense to me.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, this guy's from New York. He's been living in Pittsburgh for a while, and he's just not like Pittsburgh friendly, but you're friendly. I don't mean that the wrong way, but you know what I mean? Like you're just very like, no bullshit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like sometimes like if it's somebody that, like you get to know people and it's different, but whenever it's like strangers, it's just like, what would you like to have?
Yeah.
Tell me what you want. I'll make your food. Here's your food.
That bites me in the ass often. Though.
Yeah.
You're a stranger, right? And then all of a sudden you're a regular, but you were at one point a stranger who I was kind of a dick to or something. You know what I mean? So I have to be really careful. I wish I were more careful, but yeah, I guess I do have a sort of a no nonsense sort of. I mean, if you don't know me, I think the overall everyday look on my face is kind of like, that guy might not be much fun.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I suffer from the same thing a lot of the time. When I'm on the podcast, so a lot of people that watch the show, I'm not this animated most of the time. I'm usually in my head about a lot of things, trying to figure out, the A, B, and C to the X, Y, and Z of the day, all that kind of stuff. And I just don't have time for bullshit. So a lot of the time,
we're busy people.
Yeah. I think that it's hard for somebody in a position like you where you're juggling so much because, you have the family, you have your house, all that stuff, plus the business that you are running and you're there pretty much every day.
Yeah.
You don't get a fucking break.
You don't
at
really.
all.
I don't know what I would do with free time.
It's super easy but because I know all that, it's super easy to empathize with it,
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I think you do. You understand me better than a lot of people that come in there, because there are days when, there are just days when I feel like you get it, you understand what I like, my mood or whatever, and it's cool, and I like to say I kind of I appreciate that.
Hey.
I appreciate my regulars a lot. I don't have a lot of free time to hang out with people. So kind of that the cafe and the regulars is kind of me hanging out a little bit.
Sure.
In a way. I can validate it as that in my head. Like I hang out all day, you know?
That goes back to me saying like even you can find those moments to relax in, you know, the thing that you've built and still be working.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's fucking awesome that you're always there working. I know it sucks and you probably don't want to be there all the time.
It doesn't suck that bad.
But I think it's fucking awesome because you could very easily just be like, whatever. The place could run itself, but
yeah, I mean, and I whatever it sometimes. No, you don't want to mess around and come to Pear and the Pickle at like 1:45 in the afternoon because I'm gonna be closed.
So okay, let's talk about this real quick as a business owner.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any purpose of having an open and close sign on the door because nobody fucking seems to read it?
No, that does it. I mean, I often ask myself that, but
I feel like you could put a sign on the front door of your place that says, if you come in here, you will be set on fire. And nobody would read it.
No, it wouldn't be there. Like literal fire. You'll be on fire and someone will walk right in. Why didn't you tell me I was going to combust, man? I'm on fire now. Like you walked right past the sign, sir. So,
yeah.
Every day. But you know,
it's hard.
I don't stay open till exactly 2 ever. So just so anyone listening out there wants to come to Pear and the Pickle, you know, you should come 1:30 at the latest. Otherwise I might be closed.
Fair enough.
Sometimes I'm just finished, you know? You start at 8, it's like 1:30 and I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to make any more sandwiches today.
I think that's a luxury that you should be in. You can grant yourself. Yeah. Totally. With owning a business now for going on almost 4 years, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
What, if there is anything that comes to mind, was the most unexpected thing of opening a business that you found or just being a part of this?
It's hard because it's my first business. So many things were kind of unexpected. I somehow didn't expect to be interacting. That's sort of a byproduct, but I didn't expect to be interacting with, you know, the customers as much as I'm interacting with the customers. Somehow I thought that, you know, there would be less sort of customer Bobby interaction there, but it's full on, you know, interaction.
Yeah.
It's an open kitchen. I think I was surprised. There's a lot of little rules, you know, I mean, just building code rules.
Okay.
And like how much, you know, how hot your hot water heater has to be set to. And there's just a ton. Those are some silly examples.
Sure.
But I did not expect there to be some rules that there are, you know, I mean, and I guess to be fair, I didn't expect that it was going to be a 7-day-a-week job either.
Yeah.
Everyone warned me that it would be. Anyone that I talked to that owned a business was like, yeah, it's a full-time job. And I'm like, yeah, I get full-time.
Beyond
like, no,
full-time.
It's like really, it's all the times of your life job.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh whatever. I'm going to make mine different. and it's just not, you know, it's just full-time.
Yeah. I
mean, it's so full-time, in fact, that like when I'm unable to be there, oftentimes we have to close, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like super full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty surprising. It's pretty shocking when you're not used to that. Like I was always used to working. I've been working, you know, most of my life since I was old enough to work, pretty much I've been working. And so I'm used to work and hard work and full-time work, but I was really surprised by actually how much it takes to run a small business.
Well, even though you're only, you know, say even if you're open till 2,
yeah,
you close at 1:30 or whatever,
1:45.
the job doesn't end at that time. There's always, it's kind of with you consistently.
There's a couple hours worth of work I do at home, and then in between hanging out with the children absolutely as much as possible. You know, when they go to bed, there's a little bit more work, and I don't know, I feel like I don't want anyone to get the idea that I'm complaining about it, because it's fine. It's just, it was a lot.
Yeah.
Surprising amount.
I would like to transition into any unique advice that you may have for anyone out there that's interested in starting a business, whether it is food related or not.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you think would be good to avoid or good to watch out for, just good to do?
I mean, I definitely just watch your bottom line very closely. Watch your spending and keep really good books. Keep really accurate books. And that seems to be the hardest thing, is to just keep your spending in line with reality. Pretty much. And especially in the beginning, you might be starting a small business because you came across some capital that you didn't think you were going to come across, and maybe buying things that you don't necessarily need. I think that's something to watch out for. And just like what we were talking about with the time, if you're getting ready to open a small business, make sure that you're ready to give up a lot of your time for it, and maybe take a vacation before you open it, because you're not gonna get one for a few years. So get your vacations out of the way, get your concert goings out of the way, and then open your small business.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is, have a good accountant. I guess would have been a short way to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah. Have a really good accountant. They're really, really important.
Yeah. Without the money, there's nothing else.
Yeah. It's all about the money.
Everything is.
This is America. It's all about the money, buddy.
Yeah.
Get that money.
I imagine that.
Get it, keep it, don't lose it. All of those things.
How fine-tuned on your budgeting and spending and things were you prior to being a family man, business owner, homeowner? What was Bobby's spending habits like?
I was not known for being frugal, I don't know. They weren't. You change. People change, though.
Yeah, totally.
I think my spending habits were in line with any other person who's in the same sort of age and bracket as me. I could have done better, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. I could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
That was those are some of the benefits of opening a business. I grew up really fast. I was sort of, like I said earlier, I'm late to the party in a lot of things, like doing adult things.
Okay.
Kind of had to happen pretty quickly when I opened the business. Being an adult about things,
Yeah.
like it's easy to, when no one else is counting on you, like I have a couple of employees, they're counting on me to do the right thing and keep the shop going. They're counting on me. They're paid employees, and so you can't just. That's a big lesson in being an adult, is being responsible, and owning a small business worked me into that pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
So having people count on you like that, children counting on you,
it just
employees counting on you. It's like, really, if you're having trouble growing up, put yourself in those situations, and I bet you'll grow up pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you have your head on straight, or it'll just all fall apart.
Or it could all fall apart.
It could all fall apart.
Again, I'm very lucky, because it could have easily gone the other way. I happen to be in a partnership in life with one of the most amazing women that I've ever met, and she's literally the brains behind the Pear and the Pickle, and without her, there would be nothing. So if she hadn't maybe been in the picture, this adulting thing might not happen.
I was actually this was a subject that I had in mind, and I'm kind of glad that you just stumbled into it.
All right.
But obviously, I'm a pretty high anxiety, stress level, overthinking type of person.
Sure.
And there's been a lot of stuff that I've done in my life that has been shitty. I've been way worse at taking care of myself and just being generally irresponsible. Mm-hmm. But, ever since I met Stacy, and we've been together now for about over 3 years.
That's awesome, man.
I have become, it's helped shift my life together. And my question is, am I getting a handle on this, or is it the other people that we're allowing in our lives that are helping us keep the lid on for us?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like, where do you think you would be if you weren't in, I guess you'd be in a completely different situation.
I'd be in a really weird it's really weird to think about that. But I like to think that we're getting a handle on things. We just sometimes you need the right person to come along. You need the right teacher with anything. Like I wasn't an amazing student, but when I had a good teacher, I was a great student. And I think we're getting the handle on things. It's not just the other people. We're fully functioning humans. I don't think oftentimes I don't give myself enough credit for how far I've come. And as much as I owe to my partner, I think a lot of it's on my shoulders. And I think you could say the same thing,
Probably.
when you start thinking about the nitty gritty of it, it's mostly you. Just you have the right person that's helping keep you on the right path.
Sure. I do. I say this a lot. I think that, when it comes to anything in life, if you wanted it, in order for something to happen, you actually have to want it to happen.
For sure.
No matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's something you didn't necessarily want, like something really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the times, well, that could be a really nuanced conversation, but I was just thinking about sometimes like things happen because you didn't want to take care of something else, and then as a side effect, something terrible happens. But that's not always the case.
Not always, but
I just do it. That's me overthinking again. I'm just trying to
no, I'm right there with you,
cut
man.
the cord on that before with just 5 minutes of silence, just us just lost in thought.
Yeah, it's wild the sort of left and right of that sort of thing. I don't know. I made where I lost exactly.
We were just chatting about the responsibilities that we have to ourselves and how other people influence the changes in our lives.
Be them good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she also helped me. She helped me a great deal. Back to Alexis, understanding about myself. I because she was there, I realized that there was. So I had a bad. I used to drink a lot. I used to drink a whole lot, and I don't drink anymore. But it was her helping me realize, that I was worth more than I was worth more than just the drinks. You know? And she helped me realize that that's a bad thing that she helped me realize.
Yeah.
And I have lived very happily sober for about, I don't know, it'll be 4 years in December. So
yeah, I remember we've talked about this before. That was right around the time you were open. That's like so much change to take on at once.
Yeah. Sorry, I fell down the hole there for a second in the conversation, but it was a lot. It was definitely a lot of change. No more drinking. And drinking, I think also because I am such an anxious person and I have very high anxiety level. I think I was self-medicating for a long time. I think the alcohol was like, because when I was drinking and it was daily, it was the only time during the day was that I felt normal was when I was drinking, that I felt like a normal person. Even if I weren't drunk necessarily, just having alcohol in my system just equalized me somehow, made me feel normal. And now kind of the thing that makes me feel normal and helps me with my anxiety is all the tasks of the day: owning the small business, having two small children at home, being trying to be part of a healthy relationship every day. You have to try hard to be a part of a healthy relationship, I think. And those tasks every day, those are now the thing that keep me feeling normal.
In a way, it was like, I mentioned before that you're a very no bullshit person, but in a way you were kind of bullshitting yourself.
Yeah.
With the booze.
Totally.
And now it's like, there's no time for that because I got all this other awesome shit to take care of.
I mean, I had no conception of reality when I was drinking. I feel like when I stopped drinking, I officially became the age person that I was when I started drinking. So I started drinking heavily when I was, 19, and then I got into my 40s. So now I quit drinking, and I'm like a 20-year-old now. Now I'm like 23. I feel like so. I'm learning at that pace, I guess. There was a whole block of years there that I just didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
So now that I'm sober, I could start learning again.
I know too that I don't know how much this really ties into any of this stuff, but going back to your just roots coming up in the restaurant industry, I know there's a whole lot of drinking and drugs in that industry to begin with.
Yeah, it's really prevalent, and that was the allure in the beginning for me because I already wasn't. I knew when I started working in restaurants, and I started working in restaurants, part time, obviously, when I was 14, and those were the first jobs I took, were in restaurants, washing dishes or, bussing tables. And I would see the cooks and they would stand in the back. And this is like the early 90s when this was happening. So they were like standing in the back of the kitchen, but, by the back door, like smoking cigarettes, drinking beer while they were just on the clock, making food. They would take a 5 and just sit back and drink a beer and have a cigarette. And I, for some reason, thought that was like about as cool as it got. There was like rock and roll playing in the kitchen, and it's just everyone was hanging out with each other after work and giving each other rides to work. It was like this weird
little community of
totally.
like sort of like lawless fucking like miscreants. And
it's crazy. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think cooking is like turned the corner into being a very respectable
I don't know.
I feel that it wasn't respectable then, but
I still know some people that work in kitchens, and I think it's a lot of the same.
I think probably to some extent, but I also think that the people that are coming up nowadays, like the young kids that are like learning how to cook, they're going to like 4-year universities and like 2-year schools to learn how to cook before they even step into the kitchen. Where before it was more like you kind of learned on the job. You learn the job on the job. And that's really not the case.
So was that your story then?
I mean, I did a little bit of the culinary school. I went to the Walt Disney World Culinary Apprenticeship Program. I did that, and that was a blast.
How does that work? I'm really curious about that.
Well, you go to in trade for working for them, you get class hours, and they have instructors and there's seminars, and it's you spend a couple weeks learning how to use a knife. You spend a couple weeks learning how to cut a vegetable, and then you learn, it's regular. And then you in your spare time work at Walt Disney World. And it's a blast.
So do you work?
Some people think it's a blast.
Do you work at Disney? You were cooking at Disney?
Yeah, I was cooking at Disney. I was in a place at Disney, my main sort of hub, and you could work anywhere you wanted when you were there, pretty much. But I enjoyed working, and there's a spot there. It's not there anymore. It was called Pleasure Island, and it was like at the time it was the one place on property that you could go, and if you were an adult, go and have a beer or a drink. And so there were like different themed nightclubs. Like there was 8 Tracks, the Disco Club, and there was Frontier. I forget. I think it was called. Oh, the Adventure Club. And, it was like old timey. You imagine maybe the National Geographic Club being like this. And I was in mine was the jazz company. And every night there was a different jazz person. There was like live music, and
that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. There's live music, and the food was pretty good. The food at Disney World's pretty good, actually. At least it was when I was there. I haven't been back since
I've been doing my research because we're going in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot of really cool spots, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole lot of bouncing around, it seems like, with you.
Oh, yeah.
Let me try to get my story straight.
Okay.
So you are from Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay, so was it Michigan to Orlando?
It was Michigan. Yeah, Michigan to Orlando. Orlando, briefly back to Michigan. Then a couple minor stops on the West Coast. I was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado for a year.
Okay. Wow.
Which was cool. A little college there called Colorado Mountain College. It's like a junior college. It's like a 2-year place. But, you were in the mountains. It was beautiful. You could do whatever you wanted. Really. I was a young kid still.
Sure.
It was a party. and then New York City after Colorado was New York City. Yeah.
How long were you in New York for?
Oh, I mean, all told, probably it was. I'm trying to think of the date I moved to Pittsburgh. I think it was 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really curious because that transition, just like that Midwest Michigan transition to Florida. Granted, you were in Disney, so it was kind of like a little bit of like
and I never left
an
Disney.
altered reality of sorts.
Right.
But then to Colorado, that's super low key, like
real chill.
Yeah, it's like I feel like there's a lot of kind of like more laid back, relaxing sort of environments to New York.
Yeah.
What was that transition like on your personality?
It was crazy. It was crazy. That's really, to be perfectly honest, that's really when the hard drinking started, is when I moved to New York City. It was intense. It was crazy. And it was like, you're right. I was a Midwestern kid. I didn't know anything about anything. Not that I know anything about anything now, but I really didn't know anything about anything then. And you are suddenly in a place where there's people from all over the world, all different levels of education, all different walks of life, all in the same place. It's really cool. And I tell people that I grew up in Brooklyn because I feel like I did, so I really learned a lot.
You moved to Brooklyn, what, in your early 20s then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I didn't leave until my 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came to Pittsburgh. Happy to be in Pittsburgh. Wasn't sure at first, but super happy about it now. Yeah.
What was I don't know. This is such a corny question, but what's the one thing you miss most about New York?
That honestly, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted.
It's like a common theme.
Whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted a slice of pizza at 2 a.m, there was a million places I could go to get a slice of pizza at 2 a.m.
Sure.
Even when it came to like doctor's appointments, like I could have a doctor's appointment at 7:30 on a Friday, and it wasn't that uncommon. I mean, it was a little bit uncommon, but I could at least find one if I needed one.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There were doctors that kept evening hours, and that's pretty much it. Just you feel a little bit powerful when you live there. Like you do whatever you want, really.
Yeah.
If you just think about it enough, you can do whatever you want. And people say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I kind of firmly believe that. I'm not sure I made it in New York, but I do believe that. I believe that sort of adage, if that's what you could call it, an adage, that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
There's a comedian that's from New York. His name's Andrew Schultz. He's a pretty funny guy. But I was watching one of his bits and he was talking about that. And he was like somewhere in the middle of like nowhere, like some Midwest place. And there was like nobody there.
Yeah.
He's like, they say you can make it in New York, you make it anywhere. He's like, sell out New York. There's like 5 people here, something like that. I guess just kind of ragging on himself and that whole concept that like there is still definitely a bubble, like a bubble in New York of people that are really famous there, but nobody gives a shit about them outside of that bubble.
Yeah.
But I think those bubbles exist everywhere.
I think you're right. I don't miss it that much anymore, really.
I go to New York to visit my uncle pretty frequently, and I'll be there for, 3, 4, 5 days. And even just that short amount of time, I'm like, I can't believe there are people that live here.
It's wild.
It's fucking crazy to me.
I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, can you imagine having the twins in New York City on a 4th floor walk up and having with groceries? Can you imagine? I can't even begin to imagine.
So much extra effort.
It's so crazy. But the city's set up that it makes it kind of manageable in a way. Like just the groceries, for instance, there's like bodegas on every corner that are pretty well stocked. So you don't necessarily have to do what we do here. And I'm not saying everybody does it here, but what we do here is we go to the grocery store once a week and buy all our groceries for the week, pretty much, and take them home, in our car.
Yeah.
That's not really possible there. For me, it wasn't anyway. I didn't have a car, and having a car would have been like, prohibitively expensive, and then paying for parking the car. So what you would do is figure out what you wanted to eat that night, and on your way home from work, you would just stop at the bodega and pick up the things you needed for dinner. So you could do it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's set up. The point is it's set up to sort of operate on a smaller. It's such a big city, but it kind of operates on like almost like a smaller scale in that way.
That's really interesting to think about. I would much rather prefer being able to have a situation like that. And it's like what me and Stacy, even when we do go grocery shopping, it's like we think, okay, what days are we actually going to be home to eat?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to buy a bunch of fresh stuff and then it goes bad.
And
which
does
happens a lot. It happens really quickly, especially if you're buying it from fucking Giant Eagle, because it's already been milling around in a truck for like 4.5 months or something before it gets to you.
Giant Eagle. These motherfuckers.
But I mean, that's the one thing that kind of stinks about this side of town is there isn't a place to just get fresh produce, really.
It's really a bummer. We tried to do it at the Pear and the Pickle, but it didn't really. It was hard. It was hard for us to keep really fresh produce in that environment, and our hours made it also very hard, to be honest. We made it harder.
Oh, totally. You can't stop on your way home if you close at 1:20.
1:27. Yeah, you can't. So, but you're right. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, but it's a little bit of a food desert up on Troy Hill, you know?
I think, too, a lot of people here are so used to that concept of, go to your Giant Eagle, go to those places that a market type place, I wonder how well it would even do. I feel like it would take time for people to even adapt to that concept of like, let's go down to the market and get stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you have the strip,
right,
which is great.
It's pretty cool. I think it's another one of those things, too, that it happens in New York, but doesn't happen in other places. And I'm only citing New York because I have experience there. Maybe Boston is the same, or Chicago, but people that live in the city don't need to have cars because there's such great public transportation. So because of that, people are on foot a lot, taking public transportation. There's more places to shop,
Yeah.
And here in Pittsburgh, everyone has a car. Like, you kind of need a car to survive. The buses are okay, but they're not perfect. In our neighborhood, we don't even have a bus on Sundays.
Yeah.
And you need a car. You kind of need a car to operate. I know I'm saying that in the face of a lot of people that don't have cars here in town and operate just fine. But it makes it a whole heck of a lot easier.
I think the way to phrase it would be, if you want to be like you don't need a car to be maximally efficient in a place like New York.
Right.
But in Pittsburgh, you definitely need a car if you want to maximize efficiency getting to point A to point B.
That's a much better way to put it.
Like, there's ways to do it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, if you're in Troy Hill, for all my Troy Hillers, on a Sunday, you want to get somewhere, you can walk down to the bottom of the hill and catch the one, but it's not very efficient.
It's not super efficient.
No.
And I'm a big fat guy now. I try to walk up and down the hill when I can. But if maybe I wouldn't be a big fat guy if I didn't have a car. It'd probably be cool.
Maybe.
It'd be a thing. Something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have very long of a commute to work.
Yeah.
Just a couple blocks, really.
Uh-huh.
No, I think I'm going to keep the car a little bit for the kids.
Yeah.
Keep it for the kids.
Kids, you got to take them places.
They need to go to playgrounds and stuff.
So they're getting to an age now where obviously interests are starting to develop.
Yeah.
And you're probably seeing some similarities and differences between the two.
Sure.
Has anything surprised you? I mean, I'm sure there's been plenty of things that have surprised you, but in terms of just their just interests, anything that really catching you off guard with things they're gravitating towards?
I guess not. It didn't catch me off guard, but the amount that they're into. So we did the thing where when they were babies and little, because they were little boys, we didn't buy them just trucks and army guys or whatever. We were very cool. We bought a little bit of everything. They had some dolls and they had a little bit of everything. But somehow these two guys are just they know construction vehicles and dinosaurs.
Okay. Yeah.
And race cars. Those are the three things that they're most into: are construction vehicles, dinosaurs, and race cars. And we're to the drive down the highway and they'll just yell out construction vehicles. There's a bucket loader. There's an they know the names of them all, bucket loader. I'm like, how do you know that's a bucket loader? Oh, it's a bucket loader, Dada. I was like, okay. So somehow they pick up the names of these things and they're really passionate about construction vehicles. I'm also surprised that it's because I have identical twins and just how different they are. They look similar to many people, but they're just completely different little boys.
Yeah.
I have one sort of dramatic little guy, and he's amazing in his own way. And I have another little guy who's just very sort of seems straight-laced, and it's just really fun. I can see them growing up together and like one of them saying, no, you shouldn't do that. Don't do that. I'm going to do it.
It's like the yin and yang of you has been split into two different beings.
It's totally true. It's totally true. And a thing I think I did when I became a parent was everything that every sort of mannerism they had, I would swear up and down, oh my gosh, I do that. I can't believe it. They're little me's running around. It's just wild.
It's crazy how fast life moves.
It's true. Yeah,
because
goes really quickly.
It probably feels like a blink of an eye ago that they were just like
tiny
little things, and now they're talking about bucket loaders.
I know.
What the hell?
Fucking bucket loaders. It used to tick me off when parents would say, when people with children would tell me, "Oh, it goes by so fast." Every time, that's the one thing that people say. And it's the one true thing. It's the one true thing that it does. It actually goes by pretty quick because they're going to be 4 in April, and it's wild. I can always time the cafe's age because the children were born like 4 days before we opened the cafe.
Good timing.
Oh, yeah. That was real smart. I was still a drinker then, buddy.
Oh, no.
I
Yeah.
didn't have a fully formed plan.
Fuck.
That's crazy, man.
One of my favorite things about being at the cafe, now that it's been open for 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm there every day.
You are.
One of my favorite things about being there is there's always an eclectic selection of music playing in the cafe.
Sure.
Which is sometimes you're responsible for it. Other times it's, the employees.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody gets their fair turn to pick the music out.
It's part of, I tell people that when they're interviewing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like if this was a job interview, like music's a part of this.
Yeah. Like you can totally play whatever music you're into. I think it's cool that you can just like be working and making an egg sandwich and have a mood and go over to the Spotify station, and just put on what you're feeling at the moment.
Yeah. I think that it's really cool to have that, because I've heard just the most wild card music of stuff in there, like anything from The Cure to Tom Petty, to something weird like Cat will be listening to Tame Impala. Yeah. And then Paramore was on the other day.
Yeah. It's really, I
feel
all
like
those
music's
things.
like a big part of your life. It's basically the point that I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And we haven't touched a whole lot on that.
I know.
But, with music in your life, was actually playing music ever anything that you aspired to do? Or were you just always a fan?
When I was growing up, my uncle, who's my mother's youngest brother, lived with us for a long period of time, and he lived in our basement, and it was a real
That's some typical uncle shit.
Some weird uncle shit.
Yeah.
Like he was clearly not making the right life choices, that he was living in his sister's basement.
I had an uncle like that too. It's fine.
He's living in our basement.
Yeah.
But he is a great guitar player. He's a great musician, and he had a band, and it was called Molten Metal.
Sick.
And their business card, they had business cards, and the business card said Molten Metal, and then under it in little writing, it said Liquid Rock. And they all had names, man. Like,
oh, hell yeah.
My uncle's name was Don, so his band name was Adam Don. And then there was Dazzlin' Donnie and Terrible Tim, and they all had names. And it was like, but I was 8.
Sure.
And that was amazing to me. They were like the coolest dudes that ever lived, but they were just in this basement rock band. They were just grown-ups, not adulting very well at the time, And so he would always play guitar, and we would sit out on the porch, and he would play his guitar on the porch and write songs. And just from a very young age, I remember sitting on the porch with my uncle while he played his acoustic guitar and just made a song. And every time I was like, Uncle Don, teach me how to play guitar. And I think he was just too lazy to teach me, but he would always tell me my fingers weren't long enough.
Oh.
Which is, it's like, you won't be able to reach all the strings. Later in life, you realize what kind of bullshit that is, though. There's little kids that play guitar all over the internet.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're like 7-year-olds. They're like amazing at guitar. At any rate, I always wanted to be a musician, but the closest I got to it was a little bit of violin in like middle school, elementary, middle, and high school.
Well, the other thing too is that a lot of younger players that have smaller hands have different scaled guitars.
Okay.
So they can play.
Oh,
I know that's a thing too. Yeah, they do make like different scales and stuff for different people.
It fits the smaller hands.
So I feel I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was 50-50.
Yeah.
He didn't have a guitar to scale, and he also probably just didn't feel like doing it.
He was kind of a father figure to me, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt too. And because by the time my fingers may have been long enough, he's stopped living in my mom's basement. He met a girl, and he just lived at this girl's house.
Okay.
Until the end of his days. So I think maybe had he still lived in the basement, I would know how to play guitar by now. But he moved out when I was like 14.
When it came to music, what was your first love of music?
The Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Cool.
That came from my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they listened to it. So I guess there's this other band, the Traveling Wilburys. They listen to them a lot too. These are just bands like records that stick out in my head that I see like sitting on top
stuff
of
you
the
grew
record
up with.
player,
Yeah, so you have like all that nostalgia pulling at your heartstrings when you think of it.
Totally. Like Roy Orbison. My mom was a big Roy Orbison fan, and Patsy Cline, The Doors. Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
A lot of these are a lot of the bands that were being played at my house when I was a kid.
Gotcha. So in your now more current times, or maybe just over the course of your life, have you ever fallen in love with or gotten really into a style of music or an artist that you wouldn't have expected? Because obviously we've talked a lot about how people change, personalities change, tastes in food change, and taste in music, I think, changes a lot too as you get older. Was there anything that's come across your musical palette that has surprised you?
Not really. I have yet to encounter a flavor of music that I don't find some value in.
Okay.
It's like really rare. There'll be a band here and there that I'm like, I don't get it. But the kind of music they play is not why I don't get it. It has there's something else wrong with them in my head. You know what I mean? It's not because they play a certain kind of music. So there's not really been anything that I've been surprised that I've liked. I've liked gangster rap, classical music. I like punk rock a lot. I like singer-songwriter stuff. I do. I feel like I like it all, and I don't feel like that's a cop-out answer either.
No, I don't think it is either, because I think music's a direct reflection of life. And every style of music, every song caters to a different mood, and we all have a medley of moods and things that we go through. Totally. So I find it I guess not everybody relates music to their life.
There are people that when you ask them if they listen to music, they literally say no.
Yeah, some people don't.
It's crazy to me.
There's some people that don't like food either. They eat,
also crazy.
But it blows my mind.
Yeah.
I think that there's a very heavy correlation between music and food in terms of the creation of it, and also the way you can take part in it. I always find that people that have a very unique style when it comes to cooking, I feel like you use the same parts of your brain that you would use when creating a song.
I agree with you. It's very creative. So I definitely agree with you there. It's a big outlet for me. I used to do these, and I say used to because I haven't done one in a while, but these Saturday suppers, and it was an opportunity for me to just make food that anything I wanted. I could think up some dishes, and it's fun to create like that. It's fun to create on the fly too, like when you don't know what you're going to make for dinner and you just look in the fridge and you just start throwing things in a pan. It's fun. So I get what you're saying, that like making music is similar to cooking, creatively speaking. I would have to agree with you.
In terms of the behind the curtain of being, somebody that's been in the kitchen for as long as you have and being a business owner now for a few years, you have this time that you've spent behind the curtain. And as a musician, I have my time that I've spent behind the curtain. And it's really hard for me now to go to a live show and not analyze little things and really nitpick things that I normally wouldn't if I was just a normal person. It's hard for me to just let go.
Sure.
Is that an experience that you feel if you go out to eat at a restaurant?
All the time. So, I mean, all the time.
Like there's these nuances.
My wife actually makes me, if we're sitting at a table where I can see the kitchen, she makes me turn the other way, like sit in the other booth. She's like, no, you're sitting with your back to the kitchen, because she won't be able to talk to me. I'll just be watching the kitchen every place I go. I mean, I complain about Yelp reviews, but I would be the worst. I would be the worst critic of restaurants by far.
Yeah.
By far, I'm the worst critic of restaurants. I mean, I blacklist restaurants in my head just for the littlest thing. It's hilarious.
Wow.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just...
What is your biggest
critic.
pet peeve when it comes to a restaurant, if there is one?
Cleanliness. That's by far my biggest pet peeve. If it looks like it's not being taken care of, like... Yeah. A dirty bathroom. That's probably the biggest one.
Okay.
Yeah, dirty bathroom.
Yeah.
Does that sound weird? Does that make me sound like a weirdo?
No. What about in terms of food, not necessarily atmosphere?
Yeah. Just
like, are you a guy that's all about like presentation, or is it more like just is this like a good plate of food? Am I getting what I paid for?
Good. Yeah.
Like
it has
you probably
to taste good.
Understand more of the behind the scenes of like what goes into how much it really costs to make a plate of food.
Yeah. And I recognize that, and I equate all of those into my irrational thoughts about food when I eat at other places. But, the food has to appear that the person who prepared it cared about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for me. If it just is like looks and tastes like the person who prepared it was just trying to get something out to me as fast as they could, then
that's why it could be
pretty much done.
It could be hard when a place is like super busy, obviously.
Yeah.
Because if they're slammed, they have multiple agendas. They're trying to make obviously, in some circumstances, a lot of people are probably trying to prepare the food that they possibly can in the best way they can.
Sure.
But you got other people in the kitchen probably rushing them because there's only so much grill space or this or that or servers
quicker.
So
they're staring at us. Give me the food.
Yeah, all those variables.
It's tough. It's a tough balance.
That's why I always tell people, if a place is super busy, maybe that's not the spot you want to go.
Maybe it's not. That's the one thing.
Like it's a sign of a good place, but try to find a time when it's slower. That way you can get
it's hard because
get the right product.
When you're really, really busy, that's the tricky balance, is to do what I said, care about it and make a good product, even though you're really busy and you might just want to get it out as fast as possible.
I will say, that's the first time I've finally found something that is phenomenally different between food and music. Sometimes with food, the less people, you get a more intimate experience. Mm-hmm. But most of the time with music, you kind of want more people. You want a more rowdy experience.
Yeah.
I guess that also depends on the genre of music too.
Well, you probably feed off of the crowd when you're playing music. I can imagine if you're playing live music in front of somebody and you're standing in front of a bunch of,
Well, I think that the audience feeds off it too. And I think that's why those bigger shows, or I would say smaller shows, a local show that maybe has 20, 30 people, there's like this weird energy in the air and nobody wants to be excited. But you go see Iron Maiden, and obviously it's cool because it's Iron Maiden, but you also have fucking 10,000 people or however many fucking people screaming at the top of their lungs, and there's just this energy that gets brought into the
That must
space.
have been an amazing show, by the way.
It was nuts.
Oh,
it was a lot of fun.
I'm not like an Iron Maiden fan, but I'm not, I'm open to it. I'm totally open to it. But everyone who went to that show that I know, and I knew probably a handful of people that went to that show, just had a great time.
Yeah.
They loved it.
Yeah. They really went above and beyond
That's awesome.
to put a good show on.
That's really cool.
1,000%.
Because they're old dudes. No offense to Iron Maiden if they're listening. But
they joked about being older guys. They're like, you're an old band when Rolling Stone finally wants to talk about you.
Good for them.
So I think they're very self-aware, and that's part of what makes it great. It's not like this thing where it's like these guys still trying to act like they're in their 20s, and it just comes off as like really sad or disingenuous.
Kind of
it's very like we're gonna poke fun at us, we're gonna have fun, and we're still gonna do our fucking thing.
Yeah.
They
apparently rocked out.
Oh yeah.
You said they were bouncing all over the stage.
Yeah. There's you can't. The only way you could put a show like that together is if you've been doing it for as long as they've been doing it. It's one of those things where like the experience really shows.
I kind of wish I would have gone. I mean, I just would have been there rocking out, not knowing what I was rocking out to, but that probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
It's just a concert. Concerts, I love going to concerts. I don't get a chance to go to many concerts or go to many shows anymore. I kind of miss that. The one thing I missed being a parent, it would be going to concerts, going to local shows.
Yeah, that's going to change though.
I know. And people are like, you can totally go to local shows now. I'm like, I could, but
part of you
it's
maybe
a lot
just
more difficult to find a babysitter to take care of 2 3-year-olds as opposed to just on just the drop of a hat. So.
And there's so much that's happening now so fast that we mentioned, and I think there's probably part of you that wants to make sure you're there for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's gonna. I mean, there's been people I know that have talked to me before about this that are parents and things like that, and it's just kind of like it gets to a point where they're not going to want to be around you at all.
No, man.
So
I'm not looking forward to that, but I fully expect it.
Yeah,
but I'm not looking forward to it. So that's a true thing. I want to be around them because they want hugs right now. They want to hang out with dad. They want to just be as close to you as possible. If you're not watching them play, like even when they're playing with each other, they say, "Dad, watch me play."
Oh yeah,
like that's
showing
cool.
off. Watch me jump.
Yeah, watch. You have to constantly
watch
them.
what I could do, and they do something that's not very impressive.
Yeah,
but you're like, cool.
Like, oh man, great job,
rock and roll,
great
dude.
Job. You're the best nose picker. You're the best one I've ever seen, buddy. Good work.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, speaking of things going fast, I think this hour went pretty fast because we just hit it.
I was just hitting my stride.
That's how it usually goes.
I'm just kidding. This was an amazing experience. Thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
No, dude, thanks for coming down and taking time to chat with me.
Oh, I'm happy to.
And thanks for, being open when I'm there.
Alexis told me to tell you, and I agree with her, that we have the Pear and the Pickle for people like Brian and Stacy.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely true.
I fucking love that spot. If you have not been to the Pear and the Pickle, come on up to Troy Hill.
Come on
the
up
address, 1800 Rialto Street, 15212.
Oh, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah,
he's right.
I know
1800
it.
Rialto.
That's how often I'm there. I know it. And I live in the neighborhood. If you come by, typically, between 8 and 10 p.m. or no, 8 and 10 a.m. Yeah. 8 and 10 a.m. you will find me, unless it's the weekend, 9 and 11.
That's right, bro.
What is up with that? Why do you open later on the weekends? I feel like most places open earlier on weekends, and you're the opposite.
To be honest, I need that extra hour.
Fair enough.
I need that extra hour.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of people coming through Pear and the Pickle on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
I need
there's
an
a
extra
fucking
hour.
line at the door. 10 minutes
extra
after,
hour.
A line to the door.
That's
10 minutes
crazy.
after you open.
I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have people that want to come there.
That was one thing I wanted to ask you. So before we cut this, did you expect that to happen when you opened the spot?
Never.
To become like a sort of a destination place?
Never. Never. The idea was to be a sleepy little shop that had coffee and
Yeah,
breakfast
you
sandwiches.
fucked that up, dude.
A little bit. A little bit. But we're happy about it.
Yeah.
We're happy every day. We're
Yeah.
very grateful.
Go up there. The place is awesome. Good sandwiches, good
Thanks, man.
food, good people, good music, good environment.
Thank you. Thank you
Everything
very
about
much.
it is the best.
Thank you so much.
I love it. And that's all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Bobby, thank you for being here. Cheers. I think we have empty cans, but fuck it, whatever. I'll be back again next time with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019. Woo! Woo! Thanks for listening. And we fade that music out. And that's it. That's a podcast.
That's awesome.
Cool. Thanks for doing it,
Sorry,
dude.
I stumbled a little bit there.
Dude, it happens. I stumble.
I was like, what were we just talking about? Can you cut that part out where I say that? Or maybe not show this to anybody ever?
And now I've actually stopped.
Is that part of the show? Where you get me to talk when I think I'm not talking anymore? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.